Hey everyone, and welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, the place where people follow the rules exactly, don't break a single rule, but still get some pretty creative and pretty goddamn funny revenge. Now, I've got some really good ones for you. I haven't been on this sub for a while, I've really missed it, and I hope you have too. So with that said, let's not waste another second and get straight into this first one by user/YellowJacket81. My brother has struggled with a drug addiction for most of his life. About 5 years ago, it tore his family apart. His wife filed for divorce and was awarded full custody of their son. This is all right and proper, as brother was in no condition to be a father at the time. The road to recovery has been long, but my brother has been working the program and has now been clean for several years. He has no formal custody of his son, though he gets visitation at his ex-wife's discretion. He's been a good and stable father to his son in the last years. However, his ex has not wanted to allow for the possibility that brother has become well. In fact, she's begun jerking him around with visitation, even planning on removing son from his father for a period of several months so that she can take a long vacation with her new family. Brother, not willing to let this slide, immediately filed for joint custody. The court case was just a day ago, and as expected, his ex had badmouthed his former drug abuse and attempted to paint him as still an addict and a threat to their son. Again, he totally is not. Him being clean for years, employed and owning his own home now. The ex was so self-deluded and confident that he had backslid that she loudly demanded, in front of a judge, that my brother provide a letter from the local president of the drug counselling program, stating that he's attended every meeting for the last several years. My brother smiled at the judge and said, "Not only is that not a problem, Your Honour, but I can provide that document today." The judge asked how that's possible. Did brother already think to bring it with him? "No, Your Honour, but you see, I am the president of our local chapter." I wish I could see the look on that hateful bee's face. It's not official, but yeah, he's totally getting joint custody. Hey look, it's always good to see a nice turnaround like this one, where someone has been able to put their life back together and really make it work for themselves. Kinda sad though that in situations like these, the losers really are the kids. Anytime a divorce is involved, the ones suffering are the children. I mean, I guess the parents, it's also not great for them, but it's the kids that are normally the losers. So I hope you can get this all fixed up, sorted out, and have a proper, if not a good relationship with your former wife, one that is civil and one that is beneficial for your son. And here's the next one by user/Unicorn Space Station. So, I was working in a call center as a level 1 tech support for a big American telecommunication company. I was fairly new when this happened. Call comes in, and after the initial spiel, I ask, "Whom have I pleasure of speaking with today?" "John something." Where I live, we don't address strangers by their first name. But in the training, I was told that it's common in the US, so I followed up, "May I call you John?" And clearly, annoyed voice replied, "No, call me Big Mama." And you bet your butt I did. Every sentence on that call started with, "So, Big Mama, let's start with power cycling your modem. Big Mama, could you unplug the power cord? Thank you, Big Mama. Big Mama, can you let me know once the broadband light is back on?" And so on. He was clearly taken aback, and he was not expecting me to follow through with his request. The call took a bit longer, maybe about 20 minutes, and for the entire of it, I could hear his, and I presume his girlfriend or wife in the background, laughing her butt off. In the end, as the issue was actually resolved, he kind of embraced it, and while saying bye, at the end he said, much to my amusement, "Big Mama out." I wasn't gonna lie, I was young, new at the job, and actually pooping myself that I'll get in trouble for this. But apart from a few confused looks from my colleagues that couldn't help but overhear me saying it, nothing bad came of this. I still miss Big Mama, he kinda made my day. Hope this post fits the format of Malicious Compliance, and thanks for reading. Big Mama out. Surely this becomes some sort of catchline for UIP. Big Mama out. Whenever you're leaving someone, Big Mama out. That's what you're gonna do. I'm also so happy that the customer was able to see this as humorous. No big fight, just a nice little joke. That's what I want to see from r/MaliciousCompliance. And here's the next one by user/AbsInVOr2. A little background. I took a position within my company that required a cross-country relocation from the West Coast to the East Coast, along with a change in corporate divisions. I knew as part of this deal, I'd have to return to the West Coast once or twice a year, a total maybe 6 to 8 days a year to handle some integration things. So I packed up, left family and friends, and get happily settled in at my new job. A few months go by before the topic of a return trip to the West Coast pops up in a meeting. The guy that organises our release schedules has pulled some dates out of his butt for the trip. It's a Monday to Thursday. We coordinate with the customer and carve this into granite. Let me take a quick detour here. The guy who maintains our schedule is Dean. Dean is paid a princely sum to maintain an MS project schedule and do a couple other simple things. Dean doesn't seem to be willing to use the MS project feature that allows you to import holidays into your schedule, so he once picked some arbitrary dates for a couple hardware techs to do the work over what turned out to be Thanksgiving. It happens that this division of Mondo Corp doesn't pay us to travel on weekends, and Dean has been meeting the customer on Monday morning. I bring it up in our next staff meeting to confirm that. Indeed, unlike my old division, they won't pay for weekend travel. My manager says nope, no pay for weekend travel. I'm not happy. I have to donate half a day on Sunday to the company. I have a little epiphany. I ask if Friday travel is authorized. My manager says, sure, why not? I ask again, I can fly back to the West Coast on Friday morning, get a rental car, stay 3 extra nights, and Mondo Corp will pay? The answer is still yes. I spent the weekend revisiting my favourite eating haunts, visiting family, visiting friends, and in general, having a good time. All paid for by Mondo Corp. I get to work Monday morning with a nice tan and a bit of a hangover. Oh, and a little epilogue. Dean stopped schedule things for Monday mornings. Now he prefers we meet with customers on Tuesdays. And you know what I love the most about this one? Is that your manager was so on board with this idea. Like, clearly the guy had been through this before. He knew all about it. I'm sure, IP, if you'd agreed to the Sunday travel, your manager would have slipped it by in conversation, but hey, you could just travel on Friday, because this looks like a loophole too good not to take advantage of. And here's the next one by user/relic. I run the parts room at an independently owned auto body and collision repair shop. We'll call the owners Mr. and Mrs. Bossman. We do mostly insurance repairs and always have between 20 and 50 vehicles on property in various states of repair, depending on how busy we are. Once the estimate for a specific vehicle is approved, my job is primarily to order all the parts of a repair, track and receive and organise all the parts for all ongoing repairs as they arrive, input the invoicing and process any returns for wrong, damaged, unnecessary parts and such. Plus IT work, because apparently I'm the only person there who knows you can just Google a problem and somebody has usually already posted the answer on a message board from 6 years ago. I complain a lot, but in actuality, I very much like my job, and I've become exceedingly good at it over the years. My co-workers are generally pretty great. There's almost no office drama. I don't usually deal with the general public, and the owners are mostly solid bosses. A husband and wife team. Mr. Bossman runs the day-to-day shop, and he's there on-site pretty much every day, while Mrs. Bossman comes in periodically to do the books, which she watches like a hawk. Mr. Bossman is a decent guy so far as bosses go, but Mrs. Bossman is great. She's just one of those high personality types who's all peaches and sunshine and rainbows 90% of the time, right up until the moment something doesn't go entirely her way. At which point, she drops a smile and becomes the stubbornest, immovable object you've ever butted heads against. May God help you if you ever actually anger her. She's not a Karen in the slightest, she's just an elemental force of nature, and you can bend like the reed or break like the twig. So, I deal with Mr. Bossman on a daily basis, and only deal with Mrs. Bossman a few times a week when she needs something for accounting. My default work ethic used to be set to sack of potatoes, but that doesn't fly with the Bossmans, and especially not Mrs. Bossman. I've learned the hard way to be very, very proactive in my duties, which is directly why I'm now a great parts guy. Didn't take long to find out that it's just far easier and safer to be able to redirect the coming storm with knowledge and paper trails than it is to face the Fury head on with laziness and ignorance. She always says that the 3 most important rules to follow in this industry are 1. Cover your butts, 2. Cover your butts, and 3. Cover your butts. To which I've added a 4th rule. Always send an email beginning with, per our phone call, I'd just like to remind you. Always have an email. Save my butt so many times. Becomes relevant later, and she freaking loves me because I've become exceedingly excellent at making her job easier through diligent bookkeeping. As you also might imagine, doing all this ordering and invoicing and emailing and such demands heavy use of a computer. And for years, I had to make do with one that was never built nor intended for the task. It wasn't even very old, just an underpowered tablet-style budget computer originally only meant for the shop foreman to occasionally check estimates. At any given time, I had to run our estimating software plus 2 to 4 price matching programs, and their accompanying background scanning programs, plus multiple Chrome windows for email and parts vendors and parts finder websites, plus image software to view repair photos or edit diagrams to email back and forth. The budget computer had 2 gigs of RAM and a dual-core 1.3 GHz processor. I could barely handle running Notepad if he had the main estimating software running, and it made my job painfully slow, even at the best of times. For 4 years, I'd mentioned it to Mrs. Bossman, and it was always, alright, I keep meaning to look into that, and then nothing. But that was better than bringing it up to Mr. Bossman. Mr. Bossman was a former repair technician before they opened their own shop together, so anything on the office end is already good enough until it breaks and not worth wasting money on in his eyes. All the upgrades should be on the production side of the shop, since that's what he knows well. She's much more practical about office upgrades, thankfully. Anytime I'd mention how slow my computer was and how much it was slowing down my work, he'd just laugh it off and say, "It does the job, don't it?" and walk away far too pleased with himself. Mrs. Bossman had been going back and forth with a specific vendor that was arguing against some outstanding credits and unpaid invoices that didn't match our numbers, which means they don't match my numbers. So she came into my office to ask me to look at them as normal. But today is not normal. It's especially busy, and I'm already behind a day where I should be. Cue malicious compliance. This time, I decided that, unlike normal, my workload was light enough. But I totally had the time right then and there, and could look them up for her right on the spot, instead of bringing her the files later that day. This seemed urgent after all. So I began searching our database for the problem invoices, and very deliberately and thoroughly went through every program I possibly could, opening every estimate and reconciliation and digital footprint to pull up any scrap of even slightly relevant information for her, so that she had all the relevant info to argue with the vendor. Each new screen freezing and pausing and loading anew. Each new refresh taking more of those long-form time-dilated seconds to complete. Those seconds that drag on and on and on like waiting for a traffic light to turn. I was just being properly diligent, you must understand. Oh, here it is. I'd say in my most matter-of-fact, perfectly normal, everything is fine and standard and typical voice. Yeah, that part was returned back on. Let me pull up the credit memo. Oh, actually, that just shows when I generated the return, but not when the vendor actually took it back. Actually, I remember this one now. The driver didn't leave a return confirmation slip, so I think I sent the vendor a reminder email about that. Let me pull that up. Ah yes, I told them about the issue 2 months ago. I know, this is a follow-up email that was part of another chain. Let me forward you both of those. And actually, I think I can still pull up some of the estimate here, since it has the full reconciliation. Oh, I hope it doesn't freeze completely. Just wait a sec, and it usually catches back up. She kept her smile up, but I could tell it had shifted, and she was getting annoyed. Does it always take you this long to look up invoices? I could tell she was getting really impatient, but she couldn't say anything about it since I was doing exactly what she'd asked of me. And she does normally love that I'm this thorough, so long as she's not waiting in real time. Oh yeah, this is normally like this, I said casually. It's kind of frustrating sometimes, but Mr. Bossman doesn't want to buy another computer since this one does technically do everything I need it to do. Perfectly innocent moon eyes. It doesn't slow me down too much, not usually. Blink blink, puppy dog face. I continued doing this for all 5 or so problem invoices, and honestly, it was a 100% typical thing to look up and really only took maybe 15 minutes total in the end. The only difference was, I was making a big show of it while intentionally making it look like I wasn't making a show of this. But that was enough. Well, I really think we need to look into getting your new computer. This can't be good for production turnarounds if it's always being this slow. Huge success! Storm of Fury successfully redirected from self to vendor, armed with timestamp acknowledgements for every rogue charge. And finally knowing the stuff I have to sit through each and every time I double click. With all the invoices and credits properly tracked on our end, vendor's accounting had to admit the F-up had been on their end and we had been billed an error. I'm not always right, but even when I'm wrong, I can usually pull up a time-dated email to make it look like I wasn't wrong. Bend a little and the hurricane may just pass you by for a less prepared target. She waited a few weeks to find a good deal, but sure enough, I had a new computer shortly thereafter that is much more capable of running everything I need to run without derping out on me. And it's been an absolute champion. Decided to write this out because it's been almost 2 years working on the new machine that's still going strong. And I just today got an unrequested raise for good performance, so I'm feeling overly pleased with myself. Nice OP, I like it. Modern problems require modern solutions. If your bosses weren't getting round to a new PC, you just need to show them exactly how much time it was wasting. How much of their time it was wasting. Also, the whole thing with keeping a paper trail, so important. If it was on the phone, doesn't make a difference. People can just turn back on the world. If it's in writing, no one can argue with you. So thank you for teaching us some everyday wisdom as well. And guys, I think that post is gonna be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos once a week. I know it's not much, but for now, videos are coming up once every week, so don't miss out on your weekly dose of Reddit. But with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.